something would have the answer. And I really think it's when we really do go inside and we let go of everything in the physical world, and that we look inside of us. And that took me a long time to really grasp that concept, that it isn't about my mother, my children, my marriage. It isn't about where I live. It isn't about any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It was deep inside of me. And when I really understood that I was responsible for my happiness, I was responsible for the life I was creating, I was responsible for how I reacted to what was being thrown at me, I became very empowered. I got this inner sense that, well, I can do this. This is okay. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite an empowering experience, having spent most of my life fulfilling my physical world, if you like, with very little regard or knowledge of anything to do with personal development. I barely knew what the world was. So I'd also joined the mastermind group, and I called myself a very late starter. But because I threw myself into everything that was given to me in the coaching, things happened pretty rapidly. You know, I did the work, if you like. I did do the stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling us how it helped you as a human being. How would you say all these new discoveries that you were making and everything you learned helped you with other relationships of yours? Because you talked about your children, especially your eldest daughter, I think you mentioned. How do you think your journey impacted your relationships with others?
I think, well, the greatest thing was I reacted to them differently. So first of all, anything that used to trigger me, it just didn't trigger me anymore. So I had very clear boundaries, what was coming into my space. And because I'd learnt a lot about self-love and self-care, I was then able, because I was in a space of loving me, I was able to give so much more without the expectation.
Wow.
So I didn't, I was just able to give out there. So with my eldest daughter, I was subconsciously trying to control her.
Okay.
So I had no idea.
Yeah, go ahead, Louise.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, consciously, I was very conscious in my decisions not to control her or the other two children in my family or my husband or anything really. But that's exactly what I was doing. Why? Because that was my learned behavior from my childhood with my mother. So I was totally oblivious to it all. So when I was going through my healing journey, I totally realized, I've just got to let everyone go. It's their stuff. It is not up to me what they do with their lives. I do not know what is best for them. And I think that was one of the things that brought us back closer together, in respect that I allowed them to go. It hurt. It was painful because, I thought I knew best. I thought I was guiding them and keeping them from the pains. I was desperate for them not to suffer like I did. So I was coming from a good place, but it came out as controlling and, putting this onto them. So it was about letting go and just giving without any expectation, because I didn't need anything back from any of these people, because I had learned how to create my own self-love and my happiness.
Wow, what a beautiful thought. With this beautiful thought, we're going to go to a short pause. We're going to listen to some happy music. We always try and listen to happy music here on Conversations with Jessica, because it's a great creator of endorphins and serotonin and oxytocin. Yes, I love it, Louise. So let's go to this happy music moment, and we'll be back with Louise for more information on her coaching practice. Okay, we're back. We're back after this short happy music to cheer us up a little bit. Let me remind you that we are here today with our guest, Louise Armstrong, another coach who is also doing wonderful work all around the world. Before we go back to our conversation with her, let me remind you that you can win a fantastic set of beautiful and inspiring postcards just by writing to us through the chat today. You just have to tell us where you live. A very simple question. We're not making it difficult for you today. So you could just write, very simple, one word, two words, let us know where you live, and you will be winning that set of beautiful and inspiring postcards. Let me very quickly remind you that I am here to answer your questions too in our section Answering You. You can just email me your questions. You can write them here on the chat or you can email them to me, info@jessicajlockhart.com. You can also email me if you want to receive our monthly newsletter with information about humanology around the world, what events there are, what webinars, what conferences, what talks, what programs, what is going on in the world of humanology around the world. There are many events being organized and there's many things going around that you might be interested to know about. So just send us that quick email, info@jessicajlockhart.com. We go back to our conversation, Reese. We're back with you. I would like to, hi. I would like to now move a little bit from your personal journey to your professional career. Well, we already heard that you've been a coach for quite a few years and that you work a lot with women, although you're having more and more men now, and that you're somehow changing your career, that you used to work or you are still working a lot on one-to-one sessions, but will be soon moving into online coaching more and more. And my first question about this for you would be, what would you say is your biggest asset or tool when helping other human beings as a professional?
I think my biggest asset is able to connect with people. And I think that is absolutely key for change in anyone, is making that connection. Whoever you are with, whether it's online, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's in a group, whether it's one-to-one, we've got to be able to connect with that person. Otherwise, we can't open up. And we have to be able to open up in order to move forward. So I think it's creating that connection, Jessica. I really do believe that.
So that's your biggest asset. What would you say is your biggest contribution? Your biggest contribution in your field of work. You can consider it coaching or hypnotherapy or whatever. You can just decide how to choose. How to answer, sorry.
Yeah, and this actually goes back to, it's quite amazing really, because my husband never really supported me in the beginning with what I was doing. He thought it was a bit strange and a bit, well, what are you doing that for? You only work 2 or 3 hours a day. Why would you do that? He thought it was all a bit bizarre. It was my personal journey. There's a lot of stuff he doesn't know about it. There's a lot of stuff he doesn't have to know about it. There's a lot of, it's my stuff. He is never seriously going to understand the relationship I had with my mum. Like he'd never understand what it's like to be pregnant. There's some things that he's just never going to get and doesn't need to know about. So, but going back to him on a personal level, I really believe that the greatest thing I give people is belief in themselves. And that actually started out in my husband's flying career, because he really didn't believe he could be a pilot. When I met him, he was an engineer. And, when we were very young, we were 20, I was 20, he was 21. And, he said that I gave him that belief that that's what he could do. And then he joined the Royal Navy and became a helicopter pilot. So I think from then, he realized, and when I look back now, it's about giving people that belief that they really can have whatever it is that they want in life. Because so many people want, a different way of living, or they want different things in life, but there's so many things stopping them, and they really don't believe that they can have it, someone else can have it. So I think that is the greatest gift that I give to people, using the tools that I have, whether that is a lot of coaching or whether it's a lot of hypnotherapy. It doesn't really matter. what tool it is, because I just pull out of the toolbox what we need on that session, because I never know what's coming into my office. I never know what's going to be presented. I don't know if it's somebody from abuse or somebody, from drug addiction, or somebody, you just don't know who's going to come in. And some of the time they don't even know, and it doesn't come out till hypnotherapy because it's so well hidden. There's layers and layers and layers put over that wound. So sometimes even the person themselves. And I always say the problem is never the problem. So someone who comes into my office with a marriage issue and says, I haven't spoken to my mother for 20 years, they don't think that's the problem at all, and tend to have no conversation about that. But there lies the problem, there lies the white elephant. So it's, pretty usual for someone to come with what they think is the issue in their life, and it's, the other end of the spectrum.
Wow, that is really, really interesting, and really sounds a little bit like humanology, I must say, because once again, it's not using one set of tools to work with human beings, to work with clients, but trying to approach your clients from whatever perspective is needed, from whatever field is required at any moment. So that is one of the key definitions of humanology. Haha! See, we are a good fit.
Yay!
So would you say, Louise, that you have a certain client profile? Because you spoke about having had mainly women, but now having more and more men as clients. Who looks for a professional like you?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because I really did start out with the client profile was women, sort of 40s and above, who were really serious about changing their life. Perhaps the working woman. So that was very much quite a clear profile when I started out, and it's evolved so much now in respect that I've got about 8 young men and women in their 20s, and they were never on my radar. And I do a lot of couples, and I actually see men individually on their own. So it's a really quite a broad spectrum. So I guess I'm coming away, and I'm on my Facebook, on my website, it's very much that I help women and men. They read that, and it's oblivious that I'm a women's coach. They're not really that bothered, or fussed by it. So as I evolve and I pick up and put my business online, I think I'm going to, help a broader spectrum of people, but really among, that emotional intelligence that so many of us don't have, and it's really that core misunderstanding of the emotional intelligence that we don't have, the lack of that we have in our relationships, because we don't understand ourselves emotionally, and we cannot make those connections with other people emotionally. So that is going to be my core element. So it's kind of moved, Jessica, as I've developed, as you develop what you do, things shift, and I'm in a place of, big transition at the moment with moving my business and moving countries. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of change going on.
Yeah, and that's funny, because that was going to be my next question to you. You said you live in Dubai and you will soon move back to England. How do you think this will impact your current work? How is it going to affect the way you work or the kind of clients you have?